Howdy from Texas, Dixie and Eric back here again. In this video, we want to talk to you about basically our after school special. And what that means for us is, what should you do after you graduate college or photo school? And we wanted to get, or high school, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We wanted to kind of open up our world in terms of what we think you should do based on our experiences and after we graduated.
Absolutely.
So Dixie, what were your first steps?
Yeah, so I always feel like people go from, they go to college thinking, okay, I need to major in photography. But actually, I think it's a great thing to study business. I studied entrepreneurship in college and figured out that, the business side, the accounting, the marketing, and then I did assisting on the side to get actual experience in the field before I jumped into photography. And believe it or not, I actually, got out of college and I applied for an investment company. And I ended up getting the job, but I ended up turning it down at the advice of my mentor. He's like, if you're going to pursue photography, now is the time. So I ended up going straight into photography, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's awesome.
So I'd say if photography is something you want to do, you don't even have to technically go to school for it. Getting your hands dirty in the field is definitely the way to get into photography, personally. And then we need to get into assisting. You're like the expert assistant, so
only maybe because I've screwed everything up. I kind of figured it out on the fly.
We learned by trial and error. Yeah.
When I came out of school, it was really eye-opening for me. When I graduated art school at the Colorado Institute of Art, and what I did was I bought a one-way ticket to New York.
Yeah.
And I show up to a photo studio, and I say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm a photographer." And he said, "Oh, great. Nice to meet you." He's such a nice guy. And he gave me this list, and I put my name down. And that was the list to get on the list to scrub toilets in that studio. And I was like, okay, it starts. So I had no idea of what to expect. And also, what reality really had in store for me and how I should have created my reality. So meaning I should have been a lot more prepared by asking a lot more questions, or just getting advice from different photographers. And like I said, I've done a lot of mistakes, and we want to, probably go through those.
Yeah.
That's a whole other
So you guys
day.
can avoid some of these mistakes.
Right.
We'll go through some of the ways to avoid them, if
Yeah.
you will. But yeah, I think basically to get an assistant job would be to check out photographers on Instagram. You can look at their websites, look and see if it suits the kind of style that you're into, and that's a great way. And then try, emailing them and just saying, hey, the good way to do it is just say, I would love to help you out for a couple days to see if we mesh. And then after that, if you want to hire me as an assistant, then great. But I think those first 2 days, you can do that for free, and then going forward, get paid for it, because you got to get paid for what you're doing. But I think just seeing if you have a vibe ultimately, because really I want to work with people who are creatively inspiring. We have such a great banter on set, so you want to work with people that you have a natural vibe with.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. Don't assist someone or don't intern for someone more than 2 days for free. After that, you'll know if you want to work with them, and they'll know if they want to work with you. Another cool way is, instead of doing it just for free, a lot of studios will actually trade their time, meaning they'll give you studio time with their equipment and their camera gear. It's amazing. Then you're not working just for free. You're actually working to gain a lot of experience just for yourself when you go shoot in that studio as a trade with them. And I've done that a few times, and it's a huge advantage, because you have all the stuff to your, you can use it and you can learn from it. And the cool thing is you can learn from the way that photographer does it. And it's so important because obviously they do it their way in their studio.
Right.
It's very important. And then also, when you go to another studio, you can learn how another person does it, which is a huge advantage to you.
Exactly.
Because that way you learn how to light the same thing 2 different ways. Or if you work with more studios, a dozen different ways, which is always great to have in your arsenal.
Yeah. Because sometimes I think you honestly learn what you don't want to do, sometimes through assisting. You might see a photographer do something, you're like, wow, I would do it so differently. But these are really great moments where you can learn on someone else's shoot before you get into actually shooting for yourself full time. So, you know, as you're shooting and assisting for a while, you need to be spending that time also to explore your creativity and to set up your own personal shoots. So that's really key.
I love that you said creativity, and you brought up a huge point. If you want to be a photographer, I would say learn business first. You got to manage your money. You got to know how to do that at the very beginning before you can start taking pictures. Now, the funny thing is creativity, it's really hard to teach creativity.
It is, yeah.
But it's easy to teach business. So get that side down first. And then when you want to be creative, awesome. Be creative. Take pictures, draw, sculpt, do all that kind of stuff. It'll always help you in your photography and your video business if that's what you want to do. And just always keep your ideas handy. And I do a lot of tear sheets. And Dixie does a lot of tear sheets.
Yeah.
You want to tell them what a tear sheet is and how you set up your board?
Absolutely. Yeah, so for every personal shoot that I do, I put together a mood board or a vision board, and basically before Pinterest, we have Pinterest now, but I would put a big cork board up on the wall, and then I would peg different magazine tear outs. We call them tear sheets. They're just basically pages from magazines of like the lighting we were looking for, and the hair and makeup and the wardrobe, and then also models' poses, I think is a big part of that. So the mood board creates the vision for the shoot, so everyone on the shoot day can be on the same page to create.
Because you have more than 3 or 4 pictures per mood. Not even mood, but like you have 3 or 4 pictures just of the hair.
Yes.
Then you have 3 or 4 just of makeup. And then 3 or 4 just the background and just the lighting. And then after that, you'll pick from that. Then you'll put maybe the 2 best ones on the board and bring that to the set, so we can all align. Like, this is what we're going after. This is what the direction we're going towards. And it's a whole lot easier that way when the whole team understands where you're going, instead of just creating it as you go. It's a little better to have a creative base to start from. Then you create from there.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to get that mood board out. But Instagram pictures, Google Images is great.
Google Images is really good.
Because you can type in anything and find inspiration for all kinds of pictures, like any kind of special, if we're shooting lingerie, a special stocking that we're looking for, or a special pose. Always great hair. It's
and that really
it's very easy to find.
Yeah, and that creates the vision. So when you're shooting personal work, you are your client. And so we really don't have to ask anyone. Like, for instance, when we're on a client shoot, we have to say, hey, do you like this hair and makeup? You want to involve the client. But if it's a personal shoot and you're just getting started, that's really, it's more fun because you have the full creative vision.
Yeah, you start from zero and you get to play. Literally, you can move the light anywhere you want for that whole day when you on test days, because that's what test days are for. You're testing the model, you're testing the light, the cameras, the new lenses, hair, makeup, the different poses, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you'll start to really hone down. Hey, I like that. That didn't work, and I love that. So you can start piecing together what you love, and it's cool because that way you can start finding your style.
Yeah.
Whether it's you're shooting still life, food, or portraiture or fashion. It'll start to hone in real quick once you start doing that.
Yeah, you'll find lighting that you love and certain kind of model looks that you love, and shooting those over and over again creates your style. But it may take you a couple years to create your style. So as you're spending those 2 years, you have to figure out a way to pay your bills.
Yes.
That's always the tricky part. And so it's good to keep your overhead low. And when I say overhead, I mean don't go and spend a ton of money on a huge studio space. That's just equipment.
Right.
You can rent gear as you go, figure out what you like, and then eventually you'll want to invest in some gear. So ultimately, you can start pretty small, and then always, when you're in those first 2 years, you want to be saying yes to most gigs, any paid gigs. So portraits, weddings, food, any kind of photography. Say yes to all of them, but only share the work that you actually want to be shooting. That's really the key.
Right.
Because you can't be choosy when you're first starting out.
Exactly. So what Dixie's saying, I'm thinking, is also like shoot everything. But in your Instagram posts, in whatever your social media is or your website, only show the stuff you want to shoot.
Yes, because it's like law of attraction at work. What you show is what you're going to attract to you as far as client gigs. And so, for instance, when I was shooting weddings and portraits, and fashion, I was shooting the wedding and portrait, so I had a separate website So if someone inquired about a wedding or something like that, I would have that on a different website. And then I was ultimately only showing most people my fashion work because that's really the type of work I wanted to be shooting. And even though I was shooting all of those test shoots for free and stuff, eventually it led to paid clients and fashion work that pays.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of how it's a slow progression into that and how you get started.
And then I think one last word for, at least for me, for assisting wise,
Yeah.
I do this weird thing, and I'm not sure, I don't know if anyone else does it, but I guarantee my work.
Yeah.
Meaning, I think when I first met you, I'm not sure if I actually told you, probably did. What I say is when I meet a photographer, I always tell them, look, I charge a lot of money because
you're
after a
badass.
while, I appreciate that, boss. I know enough to really, usually get the vision of a photographer, the director, meaning I know how to change the lighting around. But what I tell them is I guarantee my work, and if you don't like what I'm doing that day, if it just doesn't work out, don't pay me. Now that's just me. I don't recommend you do it unless you're really comfortable doing that. But I charge a high rate. But to back it up, I say, look, I'll do what you want. And if I have time, let me do what I think you like. And then if we can, let's do both.
Yeah.
And then if you don't like it, then you don't pay me that day. No worries. Yeah? It's like, thank you very much. I'll refer someone else to you. But so far, no one's ever taken me up on that.
Of course they haven't.
I'm like,
You always nail it.
well, I
good
tried
stuff.
to. But yeah, so that's an option. It was just one of my options.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things about assisting when you're assisting other photographers is just attitude.
Yes,
just being like
absolutely.
a can-do attitude, positive. The energy you bring to set, ultimately, it's so important.
Right.
So just having that good attitude when you arrive on set and just be willing to do teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work,
Yep.
ultimately. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I always
Yeah.
prefer someone with a great attitude
Yeah.
over experience.
Totally.
Because we've worked with people that have 20 years experience and a guy that's just hungry out of school that'll do anything.
Yes.
I always prefer the person that has a great attitude because sometimes we don't know what we're going to do and it's just literally created on the fly.
Yeah.
And sometimes the person that's used to being on set for the last 20 years, they're like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's not my job. And I can understand that.
Yeah.
But we want people that are hungry. We want people that have an
Right.
attitude that matches ours. And that's why attitude is always
Yeah.
the first response when I ask photographers what they look for in an
Always
assistant,
attitude.
not experience. It's always attitude.
Yes. What
So-
you don't have in experience, make up for it in enthusiasm.
Exactly, yeah. And unfortunately, this is not really a fake it till you make it. Because if I set
Yeah,
up a light,
that's
or I
true.
ask you to set up a light, you have no idea what's going on. You really can't fake that because you might hurt yourself. Or, usually people do. But
Yes.
yeah, don't fake it. Ask. Just ask questions.
Yeah.
There's always, when a photographer hires you as a beginner, they know you're going to have questions. So write stuff down, ask questions when it's the proper time, So,
Absolutely. And then as you build your book, ultimately the way that you start getting clients is to show your work. Instagram is so important. We're going to do a whole video actually on social media
Right.
and the importance of that these days. And then also as many art directors and creative directors that you can show your portfolio work to, the better, because it starts getting your name out there, sending them emails with your new work. And really, you just need 20 really amazing images. It may take you a couple years to build that portfolio to start showing it. But ultimately, those are the people you want to speak to. Like, look at the brands, Google brands that kind of fit your vision that you really want to shoot for. Reach out to their creative director, art director. Say, hey, I would love to sit down with you for 15 minutes to show you my work. You can email them. Leave them a quick voicemail.
Right.
I wouldn't be too eager. Just be calm and collected and
Right.
say, hey, because really and truly, people love working with people that they know.
yeah.
So-
And they probably get requests on that 10
Yeah.
times a week, 20 times a week
Right.
for people to show them their book. So be patient. But
Absolutely. Oh, in fashion photography, we need to talk about testing a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah. So when you're starting out, you want to do model testing. The model agency will probably end up being your first client. That was kind of my first client. So you want to be able to test their new talent. So they'll send you some new faces that you can shoot for your portfolio. So ultimately, you can make an appointment with the modeling agency, show them your portrait work or something, and
Absolutely.
then shoot their new faces. So that's
Yep.
really kind of how it works. I feel
Yeah,
like we should do a recap.
Yeah.
We
so
talked about a lot here.
so after school,
Yes, after school, get your hands dirty. Hands-on, I think, is most important.
Get on Instagram, look for photographers and directors you want to work with, and email them. Say, hey, I'll give you a couple days free. Let's, get some coffee, or better yet, let's,
Yeah.
I may meet with you and maybe work for you a couple days. And we talk after that.
Building your portfolio. So testing, and for their first couple of years, build like 20 really amazing images that kind of suits your style.
Shoot what you want. Shoot what you want to show.
Yeah, show what you want to shoot. Yeah, ultimately. And then what was the fourth one?
I don't know, I forgot.
The fourth one was basically shoot everything to pay the bills. And then once you're able to, figure out your niche, then focus on the niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
about
I
it.
think that sums it up.
Cool.
Awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next video.
Take care.